Good morning again. The topic is the benefits of delayed reading. We see in the present day and time, it's been for several years now, we want children to be reading early, writing early, basically kind of progressing earlier. It's like this example. I live very close to a railway station, 5 minutes from here. And I have a train at 9:30, but I decide to leave home at 6 o'clock. And then I run to the station. I'm panicking if I don't get an auto, I'm scrambling and whatnot. And once I reach there, much earlier, I still am not settled there. I'm still going from platform to platform and wondering where it is, why is the train not coming? And I also know that if the train arrives early, it has to wait until the departure time. Yet there is some kind of a rush within me. And I've seen this with my uncle, who used to like scramble and scream if we were delayed, even if we said we'll leave home at 6:30. And I have the similar feeling to some extent, where I would not leave at 6:30. I would probably leave at 8:30, though I know I can reach there in 5 minutes. So where is this rush? And what is this rush achieving? Especially for me as a parent, as a teacher, and the long-term impact it is going to have on children. So reading requires certain skills to be developed in the child before the child can do it effortlessly, joyously. Where they enjoy the process of reading. I'm not against the children reading. What I'm talking about is formal reading, where we give a book to the child or we read from the book to the child and then expect the children to do the same. Or children are reading and then we keep correcting them. And we have expectations that they have to read like somebody else or better than their own way a week ago or so. That is where that pushing the child, especially when the child is young. Of course, we are in a rat race. There is AI world around us competing against any extremely superior brain because it's like billions of brains put together. You give some prompt to the AI, it gives you in even before you have finished hitting the enter, the information is before your eyes. Right? And humans no way can compete with this, but humans also bring in that joy, that laughter, that curiosity, which AI can't have. Or even if AI has, somewhere I'll be deprived. So somewhere parents have to wake up here. Teachers have to wake up. Schools have to wake up. At least for the first 7 to 8 years, leave the child. Of course, not do whatever they want. Create an environment and leave the child. See, before I actually read, I need to be able to pick a book and hold it open before my eyes. That movement, that will to pick a book and hold it open long enough to finish reading on one page. Now, typically, children's books are all colorful and animated and whatnot. And obviously, children are looking more at the pictures and they're kind of describing what the picture is saying. And typically, it is what the text is, especially if you go for the standard cartoon books. Children are reading it provided they have the language. If you give them English book and they come from Kannada speaking, you will not see them reading English. It's not good or bad. It's just that they're describing the picture in their mother tongue, but the script on the book is English. So it won't match. But otherwise, the description itself would be matching. That movement is essential as the very first step. How many of you have experienced this? You go to bed, you become all comfortable, and you want to read something or you want to chant something, and then you realize you have to turn off the lights. So much of reluctance, lethargy. These days it's made easy. The switches are right beside your bed. And sometimes we are not even wanting to roll over and switch off. You feel cold, there is a sheet right at your feet. But I do not want to pick it up, unfold it, and cover myself with it. Somewhere the nervous system goes into that calm, relaxed mode, doesn't want to get disturbed. Though intelligence, my intellect knows that I'll be convenienced. I'm cold, I want to cover myself. It's hardly 10-second job. But no, how many times, especially teachers, they are in the school, they are thirsty, they have to use the bathroom, but we push it out. Somewhere, there is a comfort in the environment. And if children kind of get used to discomfort or discomfort caused thereof, then it kind of becomes a habit. And that's what we need to be aware. As a parent, I have to take the responsibility, because I cannot blame the teachers, I cannot blame the school, because schools may go away, teachers may go away. I am with my child and I see my child struggling. Right? So parents have to think about this whole situation very seriously. And first thing is definitely the movement. They have to get the book and hold it. Second is the perception. It was very interesting. Yesterday I took my neighbor's grandchild for a walk, and he can converse very well and he understands very well. And there was a security guard who was coming up, and he started talking to me. So I told this boy, this person is someone who guards the gates. And there it all started. Why does he have to guard the gate? And so we are safe. Why is that we are safe? Do strangers come in here? Do strangers come in? The boy was super curious. My perception was that I would just tell him, and also that expectation, right? How we all were. If somebody said something, we would take it and stay with it. But we were, right now, Steiner tells us, Vivekananda tells us, question whatever is given to you. Be that you who is not going to change just because of the pressure from outside. If you align with somebody's thought, definitely. But these days children are born with that curiosity. Right? Perception changes. The way I perceived the whole thing was different from the way child perceived. And then we got to go into enough details so that there is curiosity in the child now to go read, if there is a book, on community helpers, on a security guard. Or I create my own book, but then because there is a real experience and something he has seen, something he has questioned, something he understands, now someone is reading to him. That's also the first step before we allow children to read. The language has to be there. Otherwise, just imagine you speak English, Hindi, and let's say Telugu, and I give you a Kannada book. Right? You understand, you can see this is Kannada script, but then you cannot read, and many times even English. I feel this every time I read Steiner texts. It's English. You can read the words, but can you comprehend the meaning? Steiner texts are a little difficult. Once you understand the way he kind of writes it, it's not even writing. He spoke in German and somebody translated it word by word to English. So there is this roundabout way of conveying a message. Once you get it, it becomes a little easier, but for that you have to read enough number of books. Now, children, if they don't have language and we are asking them to read and read and read, just imagine what's going to happen to you if I ask you to read. I mean, I'm sure many, including me, I gave up reading the first time I was told to read Steiner text. I'm not an avid reader anyway. And if you give me a book from any other language, I'm like, oh, let it be there. I'll read. Right? So the language has to be there. That comes from oral listening. That comes from the environment. Those are the basics before even we begin reading or we allow child to read. And once I'm developing this movement, I'm helping child develop the perceptions, helping child develop the language. It's a good 7 to 8 years. And it just doesn't happen like that in human babies. So once that's long, especially when we enroll children in schools by 2.5, 3-year-old. And somewhere, there is this story about the lion and the mouse, and then the lion does this and the mouse does that. And emotions has to evoke in a child so they can continue reading. If you all have read any books, just go back. Which books you take up and read till the last page, and which books you stop at the first page and never want to read. What's the difference between the two books? And there are some people, who read anything and everything because they're habituated to reading or they have lots of time. Question them too. It's about time to kind of begin questioning, studying, understanding this truth for myself. It is not because Steiner says delay the reading. It is not because my experience says delay the reading. We were not forced to read growing up. I did not even go to kindergarten. Right. So, what are the implications of reading and delayed reading? Right. Once children develop some kind of emotion kind of comes in after the first stage of development is complete, which is around 7.5 years. Getting into their second stage of child development, will they even begin to comprehend a meaning a little bit, understand it? No, I don't like lion. He's scary. I don't know how the mouse had the courage to go to him. Or I don't like little animals coming closer to me. I don't like mouses. Whatever the reason, that's fine. Does the child beginning to develop that emotion for the characters, for the plots in the story? Then they can read on their own. See, we want them to read, right? Question that. Why do you want them to read? Is it that you want them to be engaged on their own? Is it you want them to read, comprehend, and kind of resolve the question answers on their own? Is the book interesting for them to read? What is it? When you say read, question your objective. Then when I question my own objective, and you also kind of put it before the child, do you want to read this book or the other book? Giving option also helps, right? And create that environment. I know it in my in-laws family. Any time of the day, there used to be 2 or 3 different newspapers, 2 or 3 different weeklies, monthlies, books, and some novels, and at least about 8 to 10 pieces, materials to read for anybody who came on daily basis, on the coffee table, in the living room. And it's not that everybody picked up the reading habit. Some of them picked up, some of them came just to read. And many of the household members were also not even looking at that. That's okay, but create the environment, because not all of us are the same. And not all of us should be the same. right? But create that environment. If a child will pick up to reading and read it, fantastic. And now, even those people who had avid reading habits, because of the technology, we have kind of stopped it. But until the child is influenced by the technology, that is where my foundation to this human being, the body is built, the movement is coming there, right? The ability to hold, the ability to touch and sense is coming in the first stage. So at least there is some kind of skills built, rather than pushing them, rather than building what the child is supposed to build in the first stage and forcing them to read. I'm at least allowing the child to build the natural milestones, the rhythm in the body. That has to be built. Why am I doing what I'm doing? I mean, these days you see even the grandparents who were used to doing certain things in a very rhythmic way are bored because they need human interaction, but it is replaced by TV or YouTube videos or whatever. So the rhythm is disturbed. And once you see children being imaginative in the play, when you allow them to play, they start making up their own stories or take lead or whatever, then they're ready to see this different plots in different books, right? The delayed reading, the advantage, one biggest advantage of delayed reading is the child is ready. We are allowing child to be ready for lifelong reading. Things are changing very drastically. Recently a friend of mine shared one of the articles where they are calling it cerebral leisure, like leisure for the brain, because AI is taking over so much. Ashoka University in Delhi, some of the professors there, they are hosting discussions. It's part of study, of course, but more of discussions, debates, curiosity to come in. It's like a paid event. Anybody can go, it's just not students. You pay and you go for 3-4 hours. You sit and debate and discuss, and that is what they're learning than downloading something by giving an AI prompt. So things are changing because AI is going so fast that we cannot catch up. At some point, there will be a revolution of some kind. Are we ready for it? Are we stuck in the same old patterns of what I was used to, I was taught, what I think is right? Why is my child not reading? My neighbor's child is reading already. Now, what is the rush of reaching that station at 6 p.m. when the train is at 9:30? And you're only 5 minutes away. Question that. Children can slow down, take it easy. You create the environment. There are books, there are colors, there are papers that children can scribble, children can point out and recognize. Recognition is also one of the skills, especially when reading. They need to recognize your letters, and then they also have to recognize the way they make words together. The phonemic awareness has to come in, especially if you are doing the English reading. And then they have to put together those, and they have to find meaning to it, comprehend it. Now, all those skills don't come just because we give them books or we force them to read early. In fact, making children read early, we are jeopardizing their growth. I remember when I was growing up, I was probably second or third grade. I couldn't read the word view, View. I read it as weave, and people around me laughed at it, and I shut my mouth for the rest of my life. Every time I was made to read loudly, I would be the most scared child in the classroom for a long, long time. And when I was thinking of this example, I also remembered one of my classmates. Languages, teachers made us read. I mean, we had to take turns and read, and they would explain. So there was one person, and just to conceal his identity, I won't use his name, but his name sounded like k and t came into his names, and the teacher would just say kata 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 kata, because he would like stop. He could not read. He could not read a complete sentence. And imagine humiliated by this Hindi teacher every single day. I'm curious to meet him and ask him what impact did it have on him. Some of us are very hypersensitive, some of us maybe not caring as much, but I want to know, right? For me, I changed the school, and I used to sit by the window, and the teacher walked in one day and he saw a new face. He didn't bother to ask me my name, but he started calling me Khidki. Khidki in Kannada means window. And I was stuck by that name for the next 2 years. So things like this are happening when we read out loud, when we don't ask, when we don't comprehend, when we don't read the expression on the child's face. All of those skills have to develop first. Only then reading is natural. I don't even have to worry. Children just pick up and start doing it. And you don't even have to ask them, question them, cross check if they have understood it or not. Right? So, parents, please wake up, please slow down, please create that environment and allow children to be at least until they are 8 or 9 years old. And then you can start guiding them in a different way. Good luck. And if you have any questions, I would like to hear from you.